Okay, today we're going to be looking through our different operations that apply to fractions. So we're going to be doing one of each, one addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Remember, just like in actually anything that's involving even integers or decimals, fractions, the rules change per operation. Okay, so we're going to start with addition. When we add fractions, you have to have a common denominator. Very, very, very important. So my denominators now are 5 and 2. So one way to find a common denominator is to just list multiples, once again, not factors, until you find a number that they have in common. Okay, so I'm listing my multiples of 2 here, and I see they have a 10 in common. Another option is just to take your 5 and 2 and multiply them together, and that will also give you a common multiple of 10. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take 2/5 and I'm going to rewrite it with a denominator of 10 now, because I know that that is going to be my common multiple, what we referred to as our LCD, if you remember from when we learned this earlier this year. Do the same thing with 1/2. I need that to become a 10. So we know that 5 times 2 is 10, so I'm going to multiply the 2 by 2 as well to get 4. 2 times 5 is 10, so I'm going to multiply the 1 by 5 to get 5. Okay, now we're adding. So I'm going to rewrite them 4/10 plus 5/10. Because we already have a common denominator, I'm going to keep the 10 the same. Remember, we're adding tenths. So if I have 4/10 here, 5/10 here, then you have a total of 9/10. 4 plus 5 is 9. I cannot simplify this fraction, and so you are complete. You're done. So with adding, you have to have a common denominator. Moving on to subtraction, and these are mixed numbers. You also have to have a common denominator. So my denominators are 5 and 10. So a common number between 5 and 10, the LCD, the smallest common denominator, and if you list out your 5s, you're going to see is 10. You could also do 5 times 10 is 50. That would work as well. Actually, there's many that would work between 5 and 10. But if you don't want to list out your multiples, multiply them together, you get 50. So I'm going to rewrite 12 and 1/5 with a denominator. There we go. With a denominator of 10. So 12 out of 10. I'm going to do the same thing for 5 and 3/10. But if you notice, I already have it of 10. So really, that is an unnecessary step. It's already 10. I don't have to do anything with it. I can keep that guy the same. So for these, I'm going to multiply by 2 because 5 times 2 is 10. Therefore, I multiply 1 by 2 because 1 times 2 is 2. So I'm doing 12 and 2/10 minus 5 and 3/10. Now we run into another problem. When I go to do 2/10 minus 3/10, you're not allowed. Okay, so once again, thinking back to what we did last semester, we have to borrow. So the 10 becomes an 11. And then I'm borrowing 1 from this, and 1 would be 10/10, because I know 10 over 10 is the same as 1, and I've taken 1 away. Remember that the reason we choose 10 over 10 is because my denominator is 10. Okay, so when I add fractions, I have to have a common denominator. So my denominator is 10 here, so I'm using 10/10, so I get 11 and 12/10 minus 5 and 3/10. Okay, so now we're going to subtract our fractions. 12/10 minus 3/10 is 9/10. 11 minus 5 is 6. Okay, so once again I borrowed here, took 1 away but added 1 back into my fraction to get this improper fraction so that I'm able to subtract 3/10 from it. I can't simplify once again, so that is my solution. All right, moving on to multiplication. When we multiply fractions, we do not have to worry about a common denominator, which is great. We don't have to worry about it. When I have normal fractions to multiply, you can just multiply across. numerators by numerators, denominators by denominators. In this case, I have a mixed number here. So I have to first change this to an improper fraction. So I have 3 times 2, which is 6. And then I add 6 onto the 1. So 2 and 1/3 is the same thing as 6 plus 1 is 7/3. Okay, so now I'm doing 1/2 times 7/3. Now, before we discuss looking diagonally and seeing you can cross cancel, there's nothing that goes into 2 and 7, so I can't reduce that. There's also nothing that goes into 1 and 3, so I can't reduce that. So at this point, I'm just going to multiply across. 1 times 7 is 7. 2 times 3 is 6. This is improper, so it's not in simplest form yet. So in order to change that into my mixed number, I need to ask myself, how many times does 6 go into 7? 6 goes into 7 once, with a remainder of 1/6. Okay, so 6 goes into 7 once with a remainder of 1/6. And that is my solution. So no need for common denominators. For dividing fractions, once again, there's no need for common denominators. I'm doing 8/9 divided by 4, and we know 4 can be written as 4/1. Now, hopefully you also remember when we divide fractions, you can change your division to multiplication and flip your second number. You multiply by its reciprocal. So once again, I have 8/9 divided by 4/1. I'm going to flip the second number only, 1/4, and change division to multiplication. Looking diagonally, I have a 9 and a 1, so I'm going to leave that alone. But I have an 8 and a 4, so I can actually reduce these both by 4. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. 4 divided by 4 is 1. And now I'm going to multiply across. So 2 times 1 is 2. 9 times 1 is 9. And that is my solution. Okay, so adding, subtracting, common denominators. Multiplying and dividing, you do not worry about it. Okay, division, you have to make sure you flip the second number and multiply. All right, hope you found this helpful and kind of jogged your memory. And now, once again, you can complete your fraction work.